I think we finished chapter 7, and chapter 7 is the time management, and then we're about to start cost management. Okay, so let's just go start with that. Yeah, with cost management. So in the last, cost is, I think cost is 7, yes? Yeah. Unit 7. And in the last 6 sessions, we kind of build on one after another, using that pyramid from the upper to the lower, from the higher level to the lower level, and we are focusing our class here on the technical part. And last time we did scope, and we in the scope we identified the high level requirements, and we broke it down into a manageable chunk, and we produced a scope statement. And then we took that scope statement and we built the work breakdown structure. And in that work breakdown structure, we hierarchically sequenced the activities there. And we took that work breakdown structure from scope management, and we moved to the project time management, where we performed those 6 tasks, sequencing, identifying those tasks is already done, then sequencing the tasks depending on their dependencies and their time of activity. Then we went ahead and then we estimated the duration. We estimated actually the resources, who is doing those activities, and then we estimate the duration. Once we finish duration estimation, then we built the actual schedule. Then we monitor and we control the schedule. So now at this point, we already have a scope statement, we already have a schedule, okay, and we already have the detailed task information. Then the next step is project management, and we do the actual accounting and management tasks. So we have an accountant here, a financial expert who's been teaching those financial classes. So this in the cost management, this, and then we will kind of change hat, and then we become a real financial analyst to see how much it's going to cost for that project to deliver. But before we start that, I wanted to ask you a question, the difference between the project costs and the life cycle costs. Any idea?
Project cost is just specifically for what it takes to complete the project, but life cycle goes into the future.
It goes on to the future. Okay, that's one way of seeing it, yes. Let me just show you here, because that is the part most students get misunderstand. Because remember, in one of our classes, which that we're giving, we're giving a class called Project Integration Management and Systems and Enterprise Integration, where we try to give a high-level summary of what, how is the life cycle of a system is being managed. And usually, in a typical environment, you remember what we said at the initiation phase? What do? We initiate the project, okay? And we hire the project manager. And then in the initiation phase, let's say that, let's build a 6-story apartment. That's the initiation. Then it goes through the whole process, and in IT we call it pre-development phase, or sometimes we call it CPIC, Capital Planning and Investment Control. In the pre-development phase, you see where all of those activities, identifying the sources, comparing and contrasting between vendors, going through the design process, everything is performed at this stage. And oftentimes, this phase is not visible for many because you started seeing when a project is, when a construction, when the first crane hit the ground, that's where you say, oh, okay, people started building something over there. But actually, 2 years, sometimes 3 years before that, the whole process is being done behind the scene. You submit your design, you get your design review, you adjust that design, it goes back, and then you also, you pick your contractors, and then you compare them, you publish your RFI, and then they come back, and then the whole activities going on at this stage. In the IT world, the same thing. You do alternative analysis, which we're going to discuss, and then you do some of the feasibility studies. You do a business case analysis. All of this have been done in the pre-development phase before you officially move to the next one. Now, you have that product, and then you decided to move to the next stage, and this is what we call it the development stage. Okay? And in construction, it's like a construction stage. Okay? So now, if I ask you to map, take a mental model of the 5 phases of projects: initiation, planning, execution, controlling and monitoring, and closing. Okay? If I ask you to put the 2 or 3 of those activities between the two, where do you think this falls? Pre-development, initiation, and planning. Because remember, you're still dealing with all the paperwork and the activities there. And when we come to the development or construction, this is what? Execution. Okay? So this is where you start hitting, the groundbreaking, putting those concretes, dealing with construction. And this is also where you actually start writing those codes and doing the actual software development or anything. So this is the development phase. Then your product is ready to roll into the next phase to be used for production. And this phase is what we call it operation. Okay, in IT it's called what? O&M, operation and maintenance. So operation and maintenance, or in the construction, I think you may call it differently, but it's in operation. This is where you actually start using it. Okay, and you use this depending on the life cycle of that system, and then when it's ready for you to say, okay, this system is almost done, I have to move on, then the next phase is retirement, or sometimes it's called transition. Okay, so imagine this is the entire process from the time where you initiate the system to the time where you literally done with it. Okay, so now if you think, because what Gigi was saying, that if I ask you that what is the cost of a project versus the cost of the life cycle of that project, so now you can see the difference. So here, in reality, from here all the way to the end, we call it from cradle to grave. Okay, from the place where the first initiative comes to the time where you literally kill it. Okay, the whole area from the beginning to the end, what do you call it? It's a life cycle. Okay, so this life cycle could take 10 years or 100 years, depending on the project. And in a typical construction project, the life cycle of a building is what? On the average. If you, yeah.
4 or 5 years.
The life cycle.
Oh,
The life cycle, from the time where you initiate to the time where you demolish that building.
oh, could be 100.
100 years, it could be 99 years. Because somebody said that in DC, if your building is more than 100 years old, then by default, it will go into a historic category. So when you see that those big buildings, they've been demolished by putting the dynamites inside and then put them because they exhausted their lifetime. Means that, imagine, take that 6-story apartment. So this pre-development, the whole back and forth, the design and everything may cost 2 years. Okay? And